right, welcome back to another episode of Light Skin, and we're at 64, just continuing to climb. It's crazy. I don't even remember the last 63. Sometimes I forget who we had last.
Yes. I do remember the last one.
Oh, me too.
Because we went to Madhouse Burgers, and that's going to be our next taste to imports.
It is, and it's a great burger.
Really?
Right? It's the best burger we've had so far.
Oh, that's great to know.
Yeah, I'm only a fan of like smash burgers, so this burger was crazy. It was really good.
Wow.
Seasoned to perfection.
That's awesome. Good to know.
But if you want to introduce yourself.
Sure. So, Charles Nies, and I currently serve as the Chancellor at the University of Minnesota Duluth.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here with us.
Hey, thanks for inviting me. I'm super excited to be with you.
Thank you. So, like always, let's start. Tell us about Baby Charles.
Baby Charles.
You're back.
Yeah, so Baby Charles was born in Minnesota.
Okay.
And so I was born in Hutchinson, Minnesota, which is outside of kind of the Minneapolis area, west of Minneapolis. And I grew up in Hutchinson, a family of 4 kids, my mom and dad. And there's a really large 3M plant in Hutchinson, and my father worked for 3M. And so I grew up knowing a lot about Scotch tape and all of that world. And so that was fantastic. And a big family that embraced the out of doors. So I spent a lot of time traveling, particularly throughout Minnesota and up into Canada, just exploring the out of doors and the wilderness and nature. And so that was a big part of my upbringing and my experience. And I graduated from Hutchinson High School and went on to college at the University of St. Thomas in St. Paul. And so just a great, wonderful experience in Minnesota, but felt that it was time to find out what else was out there in the world, and so left. And actually, in between there, I actually did a study abroad experience. So as a high school student, I lived in Germany for a year.
Nice. Okay.
And so I learned Spanish in high school, and they sent me to Germany. So that was all good, right? Made a ton of sense. Right? Thanks so much. So I had to pick up another language, which was great. And so that was a really good experience to be able to, and I think that's what, then after college, I said, okay, after this experience going over and living on my own, I think I'd love to explore a little bit more. So I went west for graduate school, went to the state of Washington and went to graduate school and got a master's degree in counseling psychology. I thought I was going to be a therapist. I did an internship as a therapist and found out that I have too strong of opinions to actually make that work.
Same way.
Right?
Same way.
I just want to say, break up with him. You shouldn't be, this is a horrible relationship. Right? Get out of it. Yeah. And that isn't therapeutic.
Yeah, I'll get sued.
Yeah, right. And so I decided, I'm so glad that there are other people that do that, but it's not me. And so then I went and I worked back east for a while and tried
Back east, what east?
Upstate New York.
Oh, where at?
I was at Hobart and William Smith Colleges in Geneva, New York, which is the Finger Lake region.
Yep. I spent a lot of time in upstate New York.
Oh, okay.
In the Adirondacks.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, Schroon Lake.
Yep.
Pottersville, Glens Falls.
Glens Falls, gorgeous area, right?
Lake, beautiful area.
Yeah. So I lived in Geneva, New York, which is on Seneca Lake, one of the Finger Lakes, and worked there until I tried to decide what was going to go next. And they were starting a brand new doctorate program back at Washington State, where I did my master's degree, and invited me to come back to teach some leadership theory courses and get my doctorate degree in kind of leadership and organizational theory. So that's what I did, went back and got that degree. And so then went and worked in Ohio for a little bit at Miami University down in Oxford and worked there and met my wife, and we got married. We had 2 children, and she said, I want to raise them in California. And so, because that's where she's from.
Yeah.
And
you
so,
just bounced.
Yeah, I know. I just kind of bounced all around.
Yep.
And so we went to California then and lived out there for 18 years before getting the job here in Duluth.
That's crazy.
So, yeah.
All right, we're going to bounce around a little bit.
I know.
Right,
I'm giving you a lot to bounce around with. Yeah.
This is good. So, I'm going to back up to Hutchinson.
All right.
So, I've been to Hutchinson one time.
Okay.
Just once. But it was one of the best experiences, honestly, of my life, which sounds crazy. So I had went with the Chancellor of LSC, Lake Superior College, and we went to check out their trades program that they have in the schools.
Yep.
that I think is the coolest thing in the world. So for people who don't know about it, is in 8th grade you pick a trade,
Right.
to go into, and they partnered with a bunch of different organizations, 3M, labor unions, the hospital, police department, stuff like that, and they all sponsored a section of that school, and so they got like a robotics room. 3M has a robotics room there. They got a full like hospital room where you can learn nursing things. They got like a metal shop where they build like trailers that they wholesale out of the school. Like, it's insane. And then like the police department, you can go through essentially the academy there. But anyway, as long as you go through all 4 years during that trade, then you would get hired right away out of high school to one of the places, which I think is absolutely brilliant. And they have one of the I think the highest graduation rate in the state,
Right.
And the lowest truancy rate in the state too. So like the kids want to go to school.
Right.
They want to learn. I thought it was super cool. And also this real famous WNBA player went there, and I can't remember what her name is.
Yeah, right.
Really good, but yeah, she was awesome. But it's a cool little town.
Yeah, it's a great little town.
Yeah.
It was a great place to grow up.
For sure.
There's a river that runs through it. Spent a lot of time floating down the river, pretending I was Huck Finn or something, right? And building rafts and all that. And it was a great place to grow up. Great high school experience. Played sports.
Yeah.
And
What sports did you play growing
I
up?
played football.
Okay. What
And I was a wide receiver.
Nice.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
offensive end, wide receiver type. Yeah,
you go.
did that. Yeah.
How many siblings do you have?
There's 4 of us. I have an older brother and sister, and then a younger brother.
Okay, cool. Are
yeah.
they still in the States here, or do they?
2 of them are in Minnesota.
Okay.
My older brother lives up the shoreline here, up in Grand Marais, and my younger brother lives back in Hutchinson.
Okay.
And then my sister lives in Missouri.
For sure.
Yeah.
So when you went out to Washington, was that you went to Washington first?
Yep.
How was that transition for you from Minnesota to Washington?
It was a different pace of life out there, I went from St. Thomas, which at the time was about 4,000 students, to Washington State University, which was over 20,000 students, and so I think it was that transition to a much bigger stage very fast as far as my college experience went, and but I think that Pullman, Washington, which is where Washington State is located, is also a very rural community.
Yep.
And so being in Minnesota, surrounded by some of the farming and agriculture that's there, that transition wasn't quite as much as I think I would have anticipated.
Yeah.
It was going from there back to New York that was very different.
For sure.
New Yorkers are a very different type of people than the Midwest.
Yep.
And nothing bad, but they're just very direct and very to the point and move on. And that's where I learned some of my incredibly aggressive and defensive driving skills that you don't have. Yeah, you don't have that in Minnesota as much as you do in New York.
Yeah.
So.
And I'm from New Jersey.
Oh, right.
I'm from
Absolutely,
Camden.
right.
I'm
Yeah.
from Philly.
Yep.
And going up the turnpike, if you don't know how to drive, you will die.
Yeah.
In the instant, you'll die.
Yeah.
Well, and a lot of us too from Minnesota, we say, "Oh, we're Minnesota nice," but Pez always says we're just passive.
Yeah, very
Yes.
aggressive.
Oh, absolutely.
I can't stand
Absolutely. Well, after not living in the state for a while and then being out in California as long as I was, then coming here, I was like, okay, Minnesota nice is just code for passive aggressive.
That's all it is.
That's all it is, right?
I'd rather people just tell me
Right.
what you're thinking than beat around it, because then I'm going to get mad because I already know what you're saying. It's
Right.
like, just at this point, just say it. And that was probably one of the hardest things for me, because I've moved a couple places from Jersey, but I can fit in damn near anywhere. I just like to know who I'm around, or I don't like the secret messages and I don't got time for it.
Right?
Truly
That's part of it. And I think the other piece. So I learned some great driving skills in New York, and then I lived in California, which constantly is ranked the most aggressive driving state in the country.
Where in Cali were you?
I was in the Central Valley, kind of outside of Yosemite National Park area. Still always also a very agricultural area, so a lot of kind of the world's produce is all grown in the Central Valley of California. And but still a very different pace of life in California than in Minnesota. I'm still trying to learn this whole idea of coming to a complete stop before you make a right turn. What is that all about? It's like you're supposed to, the physics of a car, you're supposed to use the momentum of the car to make that right turn.
That's what I was told.
Right? Yeah.
That's also probably why I failed. So when I moved up here, they make you retake your license test.
Oh, did they?
I failed it the first time. The first question was, what's the capital of Minnesota? I think I put Minneapolis.
Minneapolis.
Wrong.
Right.
When I got that wrong, I said, oh yeah, I'm about to fail. I didn't know what was also on the test. I just knew it was over. Plus, I don't remember none of that stuff.
Right.
They put this sign up that I haven't seen in years. And said, what does this sign mean? I have no idea.
Why would they question what the capital of Minnesota is?
No, that was
on a
question
driving
number
exam?
one.
For a driving test, right?
That seems odd.
That does seem
I
odd.
guess so you know if you need to get to the capital.
In a hurry.
In a hurry.
Yeah.
From Duluth.
From Duluth, right?
Yeah. What am I missing? Who knows?
Right.
What a time. So how long ago did you come back to Minnesota? So I know you say you were out there for 18 years.
Yeah, so it's been a year now. So moved in July of 24. So just over a year that we've been back in Minnesota.
Wait, how did you meet your wife?
Yeah, so I met my wife. We actually did a consulting job. And so we were actually designing a leadership curriculum for a program. She also kind of studies and teaches leadership theory. And so we were both tapped to help develop a leadership curriculum. And it was in the Chicago area, and that's where we met. We were both in other relationships at the time, but still kind of stayed in touch professionally. And then I moved to Ohio, and she moved to Pittsburgh, and so across the state of Ohio, we were able to meet we actually met a lot in Columbus, which is right in between the two, and kind of dated across the state, and yeah, it was great.
Just beautiful. Yeah. How long have you been married for?
We've been married 22 years now.
Very cool.
Yeah.
You say you got 2 kids.
2 kids, yeah.
Boy, girl.
2 girls.
2 girls.
2 girls.
Where are they at now?
Yeah, so our oldest is still out in California. So she started college out there before we moved. And so she's at the University of California in Santa Barbara in her senior year there. And so she decided to stay there. And I kept telling her, I live on a big body of water as well. And she's like, yeah, so do I, Dad, and mine doesn't freeze. And I'm like, okay, good point, child. So she stayed overlooking the Pacific Ocean in Santa Barbara and is finishing up her senior year. And then our younger daughter is in her second year at the University of St. Thomas down in St. Paul. So she moved with us to Minnesota and started college here.
Yep. So how did you hear about this opportunity at UMD all the way in California?
So once you kind of establish yourself in higher education anyway, and get involved in different parts of that as through national organizations and stuff, your name kind of starts to bubble up. And so when they pick a search firm to do and run a search for a university environment, they start going through and reaching out and contacting people to say, hey, have you ever thought about? And so they reached out and said, hey, have you ever thought about? And so I turned to my wife, who said, you got to go for this one. Our youngest daughter was graduating from high school, and so it was a good time from a family standpoint.
For sure.
My wife, when we got married, and we've been all over the country, had promised my mom that at some point in time we'd move back to Minnesota.
For sure.
I think my mom thought it would be a lot earlier than when the girls graduated from high school, but nonetheless, that was a promise. And so she said this would be a great opportunity. I believe a lot in public higher education, and so the opportunity to be part of the University of Minnesota and the great things that it's doing. as well as the public mission of a place like the University of Minnesota Duluth was great. And so all of that kind of lined up. And I said, okay, let me throw my hat in the ring and see what happens. And here I am.
Since you've been living here, how have you seen Minnesota change? In both positive and,
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, back when, I think what we're seeing in Minnesota is similar to what we're seeing across the country. I think when I grew up here, I think Minnesota, whether you were a Republican or Democrat, I think we had a reputation of being a fairly moderate in those spaces in ways that, regardless of your politics, you were looking out for the best interest of everyone. And people came together around that table and made things work. And I think as we're seeing more of a split between our political parties across the country, I think Minnesota has seen some of that as well in ways that probably, as I grew up, wasn't part of the political environment here. And so I think we're seeing some of that a little bit more. I think the other piece, people always thought, well, when you move from California to Minnesota, you can, the housing prices are going to be more affordable. That's not the case either, particularly in Duluth, right? And so
Duluth think they are metropolis.
And so I think there was the sense that the cost of living would be a little bit different, but I think the beauty and the wonder of Minnesota is attracting people from across the world that are coming and moving here, which is a nice thing, but at the same point in time, it's driving up housing prices in ways that I think has also been a bit of a change. I think the reputation of Minnesota Nies took off after I left the state, so that is a bit new. But there's things that are still the same, right? And so I think about that. I joked when I first got here, I had all these luncheon meetings that they set up for me. And so I went to a lunch like constantly, and every single luncheon meeting was a sandwich buffet with, amazing bread and then cold cuts, and you made a sandwich. And I think in that first month here, I probably ate more sandwiches than I did in the entire time that I lived in California. And so, so there's things like that I don't remember as much as a kid, but probably has always been, and they joke about the Minnesota salad that's not really a salad. It's just something made with Cool Whip and mayonnaise. And so, so all of that has probably always been here.
For sure.
But it's being reintroduced to all of that since I've come back to the state.
Minnesota is very interesting as I've gotten more involved in just things. I run a youth and family nonprofit here in Duluth, and when I got here in August of 16, and I got a second major at UMD.
Okay.
I did physical education and coaching.
Great.
Loved it. It was fun. And when I got done, in my mind I was thinking, I'm gonna go be a teacher, and then I was like, no, I don't want to be a teacher. And then COVID happened and everything else, but getting involved in where I am now, I noticed so much, like Minnesota is such a service state, and for a long time, I only saw, or I guess I only understood some of the good, there was with a lot of services, but then I look around Duluth sometimes, it's like, man, I don't understand how we have so many of the issues that we have just in this city, because it's such a beautiful place and there's a lot of good things here, but there's also some stuff that just hinders the city from growing a lot, and talking about housing and things like that. I think Duluth has such a opportunity to grow. I'm watching the university is growing a lot too, and just grow the industry here where we can keep students, instead of losing them to the city, and just grow the economy here. And I enjoy it. Like, people always say, so you going to stick around? Yeah, I ain't going nowhere. I
Right.
love it.
Right.
I think I'll be here for the rest of my life. How do you see what's going on in Duluth, or just the atmosphere of Duluth? Does that affect any of what's going on up at the college at all for y'all, or?
I think, as we look at, housing is a piece, and I know that is something I've had conversations with the mayor about. I've had I know that you had, Rachel Johnson on here, and Apex is an organization that's also been looking at how do we strengthen pathways for more housing, and what does that mean? And so I think that is something that as you graduate from UMD, if you want to stay in Duluth, then you've got to figure out how do you make it all work? And I think that is something that the city is really looking to address, because I think they've recognized that. And so I'm excited about that. I think the more that we can continue to think about what are the industry opportunities that can come into Duluth, and how do we help attract some of those individuals, I think that will become a really important piece. And so for me, as we develop the workforce that can help support some of the industry that's being developed across the country, that will increase the opportunity for some of those people to say, you know what, we don't have to open up that shop down in Minneapolis, because we've got an educated workforce up here in Duluth. And we've got from Lake Superior Community College and St. Scholastica and UMD, we've got the opportunities here to be able to get the workforce we need to open up some of those industries. And so I think that is part of what I've really seen my role as I've come here, is how do I tell that story? And how do I help people recognize that Duluth offers everything from this educated workforce to a great place to live, a community that really embraces the out of doors. So if you're into recreation and you want to hike, you want to, all of that's here. We've got it all, right? And I think the other piece, there was this really interesting book. It was written by a faculty member at the University of California, Berkeley, called Awe. And it talks about the importance of having that emotional experience and what that does for your overall health and well-being. And one of the best ways you experience awe is through nature. And so every day I get to look up at Lake Superior and say, this is awesome. And right? And just the opportunity to have awe every day is what a great way to start your day.
For sure.
And so I think helping to tell the story of what Duluth offers from that overall health and well-being, as well as a workforce, as well as all of the opportunities that the city brings. I know that there's a lot of people that are out there telling that story. And so for me, part of the opportunity to be chancellor is I get into rooms where I can tell that story, and I'm excited about that.
I got a question. So
Sure.
as AI begins to integrate itself into society, where do you see this going? Like, is it going to take opportunities away from certain sectors, or will it be a great addition to and help grow other sectors? Like, when people enter college, is there this feeling like, oh, maybe this job won't be here anymore because AI is going to take it over? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think what AI is going to do is it's going to cause us to rethink kind of what are the workforce needs. It's going to open up a bunch of new opportunities as we continue to develop the systems and do the work. I think the other piece is with AI, at the end of the day, you still need a human to make a decision. That is making a decision that is based upon what is best for humanity, that is making a decision upon what is ethical, that is making a decision upon, is this legal? That's doing the fact checking to make sure that what AI has pulled off of the internet, because it's just pulling what's out there. And so if what out there isn't factual, it's still pulling that information. And so someone has to be able to go through and make those decisions. And then be able to make that determination. And I think part of what that is doing is it might be shifting the roles that everybody plays in a way that may be different. And so what we're thinking about is how do we not only prepare our graduates to be able to go into the workforce and understand this tool that is AI, but how do we also, to some extent, upskill our faculty and staff so that we're using it as a tool on campus as well, and the opportunity there, right? I mean, I've got, as I said, I've got 2 daughters that are in college, and they have had a range of experience with their faculty on their campuses around whether or not they support AI or don't support AI. And at the end of the day, it's here. So for a faculty member to say, you can't bring any technology into my classroom, everything's going to be handwritten on a notebook, and and that way I know that you're not using AI. It's like, it's here, and when they graduate, they're going to have to know how to use that tool. And so instead of pretending that it's not going to influence us, we have to figure out how to use it. And so for us, we're really looking at how do we support our faculty to say, what does this mean for the learning that we are going to be measuring? And memorization may not make a ton of sense right away anymore because you can just pull it up on your phone. So why do you need to memorize everything? But the use of that information that you're pulling up on your phone, and how do you interpret it? Are you a critical thinker? How are you making ethical decisions? How are you fact-checking it? All of that is part of what we need to be doing as we are helping them understand the concepts and the ideas that we think are really valuable for whatever degree you're going into. And so I think AI is going to influence. We just did, we had a series of events on campus on Thursday and Friday back to celebrate the university. And technically to install me into my role as Chancellor. So we had a bunch of fun activities and events, and one of the things that we did was we had faculty did these talks, and a couple of the faculty talked about the role of AI, particularly in creativity, because there's a sense that AI is going to start to squelch human creativity. And really what he talked about was the fact that it's actually opening up the capacity for even more creativity than you would have thought. And then we had another panel on Friday morning where I brought in experts in higher ed policy and higher ed research, and they talked about the future of higher education. And one of the things they talked about is the influence of AI. And that's where they really shared. We've got to not only prepare our graduates to go into this world and be able to use this tool, but we've also got to upskill our communities and our campus, because it's here. And so I think for me, the opportunity that the university has to also partner across Duluth to be able to say, here's how this tool might show up in your industry. How do you use it? And how do you train your staff so your staff doesn't feel that they're left behind in the conversation? How do we kind of think about what does this mean for the next work needs? And I think technology is here. We can check out of the grocery store without having a cashier anymore.
I love cashiers, though.
I know, right?
I love them.
Well, usually, though, it depends upon whether or not I've got time or not.
Yeah, well, and that's true.
Because sometimes they'll go through what I'm buying, and then they want to know what I'm making, and they'll ask me about the recipe, and sometimes I've got time to have that conversation, sometimes not so much.
Yeah.
But I think all of that is going to impact us, and the more we're having those conversations and we're helping everyone figure out how to use the various tools out there, whatever industry they're in. I think that's what's going to be really important. Yeah.
And maybe you already answered this, so I'm just thinking about this. For you personally, what do you think the biggest challenge is for you as Chancellor now?
Yeah, what is the biggest challenge? There's, I think one of the big pieces is that there's a narrative out there, particularly with AI, that you don't need a college degree. And because all the information that you might learn in college, you can just pull up on your phone. And I think that, for me, is helping to tell the story that we still need people to be critical thinkers about AI, and we still need people to be making ethical decisions about AI. And at the end of the day, even if my doctor is using AI, I still want my doctor to go to med school.
No,
right?
Not just Google.
How
do I fix the
right.
ACL?
Right.
Yeah, because anybody who has had an injury or a sickness and you Google it, you're always wrong.
Right.
Oh, you're dying.
Man,
I'm
I
dead.
got cancer.
Yeah, I'm dying tomorrow.
Yeah.
You're self-diagnosing based upon, right? And you still, And you still need that doctor then to make that decision. And I think the role of AI means that some of the expertise that we would have to drive 2.5 hours to get for that specialty service, we may not have to drive 2.5 hours anymore, because it might be able to be something that our doctor right here in Duluth is going to be able to tap into and have access to.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I still need that doctor to make that decision. And so for me, I think one of the big challenges is helping people have trust and confidence in the role that higher education still plays in preparing that workforce to go out there and help deliver on this. As well as I think the other big challenge is, as everything has gotten more and more expensive, we're not immune from that. And so the college campus, we have to pay our bills.
Yeah.
And so at the same time, the funding from the state, and not just in Minnesota, across the country, they've needed to use their funding for other needs. And they're not supporting higher education at the same level that they used to. So we're getting less and less money from the state, but our costs are still going up. And so technically, for example, when the state kept our budget flat at the University of Minnesota from last year to this year, that's a 3% reduction because inflation costs have gone up. And so while it was the same amount of money, it just doesn't go as far anymore. And so that has cost us to make decisions around tuition. And so I think the other piece is how do we think about where are some opportunities for us to bring in different sources of revenue so that we don't have to put it all into that tuition fee that we charge. I think the other piece that we need to do a better job is talking about the world of financial aid. Over 90% of the undergraduates at UMD get some form of financial assistance through the university. But when you first look at how much a tuition costs, you might say, I can't afford that. But we haven't done the job that we need to do to talk about the financial support that we provide that could make this a very affordable experience. And so I think it's both the value that you get by going to college and the affordability of that, as well as just helping people to understand the ways that the college educational experience is actually helping to provide the workforce needs that we have in our country. And so I think those are some of the big challenges as we're hearing people out there talk about, is college worth it anymore? And obviously I'm biased. But I think it is.
Well, and I think about that all the time because, I watch a lot of podcasts and stuff, and then you see people like Charlie Kirk, he goes onto these college campuses and he has these conversations about college is a scam and, anybody can make it to the top. And I think, well, that is true maybe, but that's such a rare example. So rare to be able to not have a college degree and to make it at the top of any field or even the top 30%. College really is, I think, super important if you want to make it.
Yeah, and there's tons of research, particularly coming out of economics, that show in the United States, anyways, the only assured way for you to make a financial change in your life is through education. There's a very, very small people that go into the NBA. There's a very, very small people that win the lottery. And so, and even some of your social media influencers, there's not that many of them that have the longevity beyond a year or two. And so while you might be thinking that that is the way that you're going to be able to support a certain lifestyle that you want, the only thing in the United States that repeatedly has made that difference is in education.
Well, even like Pez and I both have college degrees in things that we don't even do right now.
Right.
But I feel like I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the experiences that I got in college.
The college experiences, that alone is a ball.
Yeah.
And I had to, so I went to West Virginia first.
Okay.
Play football there. I did political science and got an econ minor. And I loved it. It was fun. From the sports side to just the life on campus side, and parties and everything.
Right.
Because You learn a lot about the
They
world.
don't do that at UMD.
No, no, not at all. But I truly learned so much about. One, I realized everything I learned in middle school and high school was damn near a lie. So that was super eye-opening. I needed that. I needed that. I was like, what the hell was I taught?
Right.
I was so ignorant at the time. And it influenced so much of what I thought about. When you're young, politics are irrelevant. You only really talk about what you hear.
Right.
But then when you become educated enough and can formulate your own ideas,
Right.
Off of whatever facts hopefully you're getting facts,
Right,
and
right.
not just looking at headlines.
Right.
Staying in your bubble.
Get out of
Right,
the bubble.
right.
But you really can see the world as like what it is.
Right.
And understand that even though it seems super complex, it's really not. It's just people chasing greed and everything else.
Clearly, he got a minor in economics.
Oh yeah, for sure. I am an econ.
That's an economist speaking.
For sure. But at the same time, the other side is, working in the field I do, a lot of our kids are at-risk youth. We
Right.
serve 80 plus kids a day in this.
Right.
Most of them, the idea of school
Right.
is crazy,
Right.
and there are some students in high school we got that can't even read.
Yeah.
And it sucks because, we put such an emphasis on education, but we push kids through middle school and No Child Left Behind. It's like,
Right.
they aren't ready.
They aren't ready.
And they have no confidence. If you can't read,
Right.
that sets you up to completely fail. You have no
Right.
confidence in the classroom. You don't feel like you can do the work that other kids are doing purely because you can't formulate the sentence.
Right.
So we try to focus on let's get you learning how to read. And then we can do that. Then we can get you going on some small math stuff. Just because we want you to not feel like you are less than in a classroom, or if you do have aspirations of going past high school, how can we prepare you the best we can to help you get to where you want to be, and not just stay in this cycle of graduate high school, work in a factory, so.
Yeah, well, and at some point in time, as a child, you just want attention.
Yeah.
And if you can't get the positive attention because you can't read,
Yeah.
then you might act out
Exactly.
because you're still going to get attention.
Exactly, yeah.
And so any attention, whether it's good attention or bad attention, is still attention. And so that's a problem. And we know that the big year is second and third grade because you transition in second grade from learning to read into third grade, which is reading to learn.
Yeah.
And so if you can't read by third grade, you're not able to read to learn.
Yeah.
And that developmental pathway there is huge. And so, and particularly now, the way that we've done a lot more applied math. And so, because again, we don't need to memorize how all of math works, you need to figure out how to use math, which means everything is moved to word problems. And so if you can't read, it's not just impacting you in writing, it's impacting you in math, which is then going to impact you in science, right?
And
so
financially and everything else.
all of that is going to, and so I think you're right. If we're not thinking about literacy and the opportunity to help increase the effectiveness of some of the ways that we do that second, third grade, it's huge, and we miss a lot of opportunities.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. Education is big, however you look at it.
Right.
And, a lot of our students, we try to push to, if you don't want to go to university, then let's think about trades,
Right.
and things like that. One that cost you a little bit less, or way less. But you can also leave with a skill that, one day you can start your own business and you can pass this down to your kids, and build wealth that way. And
And that's a big focus that we've been doing with the Duluth Promise. So when I got here, I had an opportunity to connect with the superintendent of Duluth Public Schools, president of Lake Superior College, president of St. Scholastica, and the four of us got in a room together and said, how can we figure out the opportunity to show what education do you need for different career pathways,
sure.
as well as how do we let you figure out where you can come and go within that pathway. And so you might graduate from high school and go to Lake Superior College, work in that trades for a while, but then realize you really want a 4-year degree. Then how do you come back into a 4-year institution, or how do you go and get the master's degree, the MBA, the master's in engineering, well, master's in education, whatever that might be? How do we get you, and what is that pathway, and how do we make sure that we're working across all 4 of those different educational segments that exist here in Duluth, so that you don't fall into some gap that we've artificially created because we weren't talking.
Yep.
And so the whole idea behind the Duluth Promise was to get all of us to talk, so that all of the youth in our communities can find those pathways, as well as our adult learners who want to come back to school can find those pathways to get the education that they want, to get the career opportunity that they want.
No,
and
that's awesome.
that's what we're trying to figure out.
For sure.
Yeah.
No, that's great. Yeah. We're going to talk more about that.
All right.
Off the camera.
All right.
These are things we could be super beneficial even for like my staff.
Right.
And to teach our students as they're getting into high school years and stuff too.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
enough about education.
All right, well, it is my bias, so...
Enough.
all right.
All right. What are some of your favorite places to eat at here in Duluth?
It's there's a lot. Well, no, I think there's a lot. I think one of the pieces, I think if you've been here for a while, you've eaten at all the places and you feel like, there's just nothing here, right? As a new person, I'm like, for a community the size of Duluth, the number of restaurants that we have is amazing. It's crazy. And so I think the difficulty that I run into is it really depends on what I'm hungry for.
Yeah.
And so I don't have just kind of one spot, right?
Sure.
If I want a good sandwich, I'm going to go to Sir Ben's. Right?
Perfect.
Right?
Perfect. They're in Corktown.
Corktown, or if I want a good smoked salmon, Northern Water, right? Not even close. Right? And so that sandwich vibe,
boom.
they've got me
Just
covered.
knocked the 3 out right
They've
there.
got me covered.
Yep.
If it's something a little bit more, I'm also really trying to support local economies and local ecosystems. And so the more we can find ways to support the local food shed that is here, instead of having everything shipped in from California, what can we do locally? And so places that really try to embrace the local is huge for me. And so Zeitgeist will do that. The Lake Avenue Cafe will do that. I mean, you look at their menu and they will tell you where the blueberries came from that are in their desserts, and it was locally sourced. And so really trying to figure out how do we kind of support some of that. And so I love those. Obviously, if I'm looking for a good Italian, I'm gonna, and with a view, I'm gonna go to Va Bene, and I'm gonna get a good Italian with a view.
There you go.
And if I want something a little bit more kind of avant-garde with a Scandinavian flair, I'm gonna go a little bit further up the coastline and go to the New Scenic Cafe and try that out and see what, and they too have a little bit more of a seasonal menu where they're thinking about, again, what is in season and how do we think more seasonally than, someone that, wants strawberries in December.
For sure.
They don't grow in December, just letting you know. So,
GMOs.
Right? And then, if I want just to indulge in some really good protein, I'm going to hit OMC, our Burger Paradox, and because I can get a nice milkshake with Burger Paradox, right? So, an adult milkshake, right? So we've been doing kind of some of that scene. I think the other piece too, and I've been able to have a conversation with the folks from Bent Paddle, great UMD alums, and the research that they've done on the water that comes out of the lake. I mean, it is cleanest, purest.
Just the best water I've ever had in my life.
It is amazing water. And so the beer that they're able to make here, and so that's something new that I didn't expect moving to Duluth is the beer industry that's here, and it is they do a really nice job. And then Vicray with their distillery, right? And so you've got some places that have really tapped into the natural resource that is Lake Superior and are coming up with some amazing opportunities for us. So so how am I doing on my food places? Anything? Other suggestions?
Well, so Joe and I, we do food reviews all
Okay.
all around the front porch. We just did Madhouse Burger.
Okay.
And
Well, we've been to Burger Paradise.
we've been to Burger Paradise.
We've been to Zeitgeist.
Yeah.
Right.
Have you had the truffle fries?
I have.
Amazing.
They are my favorite fry.
Yeah, they're insane. They're insane.
Yeah,
But
they're insane.
I will say that, like we talked before, that burger from Madhouse.
Madhouse.
Like I said, I'm not a burger guy. I've had so many burgers when I was young. I think I got sick of them. And if I'm going to eat a burger, it has to be a smash burger.
Okay.
I don't want no thick ass pound patty. I don't. Who wants that? It sounds crazy.
Right.
But it's great. Venture, if you get a chance,
Okay.
you and your wife venture up to Mama T's.
Mama T's.
It's in Superior.
Okay.
South Superior, a little bit past Bird's Bar.
Okay.
All the way down Tower. Great.
For barbecue.
For barbecue.
Yep. If you
Well,
haven't-
not barbecue. No.
Well,
it's like
Southern style.
Southern, yeah.
My bad.
Don't say barbecue because that's how you get beat up. It's Southern cuisine, soul food.
Soul food.
Type.
In Duluth.
Oh, in Duluth.
No,
Or Superior,
sorry.
but in the region.
Oh, yeah. I'm talking fried okra, catfish, shrimp and grits.
Wow.
They got it. It's really good.
And we don't even get any kickbacks. So
Right.
you know this is a legit.
Yeah, we just...
Yeah.
Well, and I've been going to a lot of events with food trucks, and there's a couple really
great
good,
food trucks.
some great food truck scenes, right? And you know, and some of them have storefronts that we can go to, but so been doing that. I mean, coming from California, I think part of what, particularly when our children are in town, it's where do we go for Mexican food? And
Aztecas.
Oh, really?
Right next to Bridgman's. Bridgman's is amazing, too.
Well, what about Oasis?
Oasis Del Norte.
Yeah.
That's where we go.
Hey,
And
that's
with
true.
they've got a food truck as well, and
Yeah.
so they were just at, every Wednesday night throughout the summer, Glenn Sheen, which is part of the University of Minnesota Duluth, does free concerts for our community, and the food trucks come up, and Oasis Del Norte was there, and so I was able to have a really good, their Al Pastor.
Yeah. I'm not
And one of the best desserts. Remember that Tres Leches cake?
Great.
Oh, really?
That guava cheesecake is insane.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm not a cheesecake fan.
Yeah.
But if you like cheesecake,
I'm a cheesecake fan.
yeah.
Okay.
But if you get a chance to have that Tres Leches cake,
Really?
oh man, was it good.
Fantastic.
We
Good
love
to know.
Food. Food is great.
Food is great,
Food is great.
right?
Other than just being outdoors, which you say you do a lot.
Yeah.
What's some of your other hobbies that you like to do, especially around here?
Yeah, well, food is one of my hobbies,
Same. Look at us.
and part of it, I love to cook,
Okay.
and so for me, it's also kind of just exploring what I mean. Right now, a little bit later than what I'm used to, but my tomatoes are all ripe, and so what I've been able to do some great cheeses in the area. So I've just been able to do a nice thin slice of some of the tomatoes, smear a little goat cheese with honey.
Is this you letting us know like what we're going to have when we come over?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Be eating soon.
yeah. And so just a little, right? And so and then there's amazing bread, and so and there's some great olive oils at the market in Fitgers, the food market there, right? And so I bought this smoked olive oil. You dip the bread in that, and then you grill it, and it gives this smoky kind of, so good.
I can't wait till we come
So
over.
good.
This is going to be yeah, just let us know when to shoot the dress over to us.
And so I think, and part of it is when you work in education, it's a little different industry than when you do something else where you've got an end product at the end of every day. I don't leave work and feel like I've got an end product every day. And so when you go home and you cook, there's an opportunity to start something, finish it, and then I love food as a way to bring people around the table, hear their stories, hear their conversations, and so it's both an opportunity for me to kind of therapeutically start and finish something, but then have people around the table to enjoy that food and to enjoy it. So that is one of my hobbies, and then And then I've got a bunch of raised beds in our backyard, and so doing a little gardening right now. Season's a little shorter than what I was used to in California. But that also, just spending that time in the backyard. And then, as you said, just enjoying the out of doors.
Yeah.
We've got 2 dogs, and so the opportunity to just kind of every day get up, walk the dog. And,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
As we wrap up, I ask everybody this question.
Okay.
Don't think of it as something you would go back and change, but rather something, if you can go back and say something to your younger self, or just yourself at a point where you needed to hear this, what would it be?
That's a great question. I think, as someone who, I'm a first-generation college student, and so I think there were a lot of times where I questioned and wondered whether or not I should really be in college, and that phenomenon known as imposter syndrome was a big part of kind of that experience. There was a long time after I got my doctorate that I still had this fear that someone was going to knock on my door and say, yeah, you really didn't get a PhD. And so I think that message that believe in yourself, because others believe in you, would have been really helpful to give me some more confidence going into college in ways that might have opened up even more doors. Now, I feel incredibly fortunate that I'm in the role that I'm in. And again, as an 18-year-old, when I stepped foot on a college campus, I had no idea that this position even existed. Because you don't go to college thinking you're going to be a chancellor one day. And so I feel incredibly fortunate that the opportunities throughout my educational experience and the people in my life that mentored me and coached me have brought me to this point. But every once in a while, I think if I could go back, I would say, believe in yourself. Things are going to work out. And that would have been a message that I probably would tell myself now, looking back and realizing to have that confidence and that belief.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, hey, we appreciate you.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. It was great spending time with both of you.
No, love hearing your story, and
Great.
and excited to talk about some more education stuff with you and see how we can benefit some of these kids.
Absolutely.
Around, so,
Yeah.
Well,
Great. Fantastic.
you bet. Thanks again.
All right. Thank you so much.
You bet. And like always, like, subscribe, and share. And we'll see you next time.
Boom.
Boom.